Satnam. Welcome to Kundalini Yoga. I'm so excited to guide you this morning or today through this really powerful kriya. We're going to be doing the women's set kriya, so very specifically gifted to women by Yogi Bhajan. This kriya is said to help us keep the spine really strong, which sounds like, okay, whatever. But in yoga, specifically the tradition, the spine is really the telltale to our longevity and our lifespan and our ability to move energy up and down the spinal cord or that central channel of Sushumna Nadi. So spine is quite significant. So keeping the spine healthy, deeply important for us. It's also really good for the organs and the health and nourishing the organs, very specifically glandular balance and our nervous system strength. So that's key, especially if we're going through really challenging times in our lives. Either really small or big. We know that the chemicals in the body, depending on the stress or strain or overwhelm that we're in, can change. And as women, we tend to have a little bit more of a fluctuation of hormones through the body because we have our menstrual cycle. And even if we're past that stage in our lives, we're in that crone stage, the stage of menopause or post-menopause, we still have hormones working their way through their body. It's just in a different form. So this kriya is really important to help us balance the hormones, strengthen the nervous system so it takes more pressure of time, more pressure of these times to create stress or strain on the body systems than it would normally or naturally. That's what we're going for. So not that there's no such thing as stress, because there is, and there always will be, but our systems are able to withstand it a little bit more potently. Then lastly, it's really key because we're moving into and kind of exploring over the next week or so second chakra, and very specifically this kriya tends to the ovaries, and the ovaries for women are second chakra, especially the womb as well, but the ovaries very significantly are second chakra organs. And so we're giving them some nurturing, some tending to, some little massage as well through our practice this morning. And then after the kriya, we're going into meditation, which is said to be and considered to be the most and the highest meditation for women, called kirtan kriya. And this is a meditation I practiced myself for over 90 days. And was transformational in various ways, but I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. So what I'd like us to do, if you do want something to sit on for comfort and ease through your hips and knees, feel free to even use a chair in the meditation if that's better for you. Otherwise, elevate the hips so you can find a comfortable seat. And mantra or motto I often go for in Kundalini Yoga: don't do nothing, do something. So if the posture's not working, modify it, or even if you have to, leave it out completely. Focus on the breathing pattern. If the breathing pattern isn't working, maybe you're pregnant or menstruating, then you stay long, deep breathing and do the posture with the breath. And then eventually, as you continue to do this set or the kriya, then you can integrate all of them together when it is physically, mentally, and energetically appropriate. Our kriya today is generally all long, deep breathing because that's what's recommended the most. So we can practice this kriya as women for 40 days. So even if you're on your menstrual cycle, this kriya works for you and you don't have to modify a lot of it. Our last posture has breath of fire. So as I just mentioned, if you are menstruating or pregnant, you'll just do long, deep breathing instead. Okay? Otherwise, do what you can, stay in it. As Yogi Bhajan said, keep up and you'll be kept up. So let's find a comfortable seat, bring the hands together at heart center, close the eyes. Find a nice, tall, proud inner stature. Allow your inner gaze to roll up to the space between the eyebrows, your third eye. And settle into that smooth flowing breath. Push the palms together just a little bit more tightly so the elbows slightly lift in line with your wrists. And this morning we open our practice with 3 rounds of Adi mantra, Om Namo Gurudev Namo. And then 3 rounds of the Mangalacharn mantra, which is a mantra for divine protection or creating your sacred space. Ad Gure Name, Jagad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Siri Guru Deve Name. If you don't know it, you can just listen with that intention of cultivating a sacred space. And so our first round of the Adi mantra, Om Namo Gurudev Namo, an invocation to all the teachers that came before, the highest energies, truth, love, and compassion, and the God of our own understanding. Second, an invocation to our own inner teacher, our ability to transform darkness into light. And the third round, an invocation to our own practice, our own sense of self, our own truth, identity to that truth, and the sacredness of the practice within our space, to change, to transformation. Let's take a deep breath in to chant. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Deep breath in. Suspend the breath for a moment. Exhale softly. Coming into the Mangalacharn. Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Siri Guru Deve Name. Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Siri Guru Deve Name. Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Siri Guru Deve Name. Deep breath in. Long breath out. Nice full breath. If you'd like to create an intention for your practice, now's a good time. And letting your eyes open. Left hand's going to come into Gyan Mudra, index finger and thumb touching, palm up, resting on your left thigh. Right hand like you're taking an oath, but bringing it in front of your face. We're going to block the right nostril as you close your eyes again. Inhale deeply through the left nostril. Curl the fingers so you block your left nostril. Release the thumb. Exhale, right nostril. Block right nostril. Inhale left. Block left nostril, exhale right. And so continuing, inhaling through your left nostril and exhaling through the right. Eyes are closed, rolled up to the third eye point. Really fill and empty with every breath. This is a pranayama that reduces mental, physical stress, calms the nervous system and the brain. And so we can move into our practice with a little bit more ease, softness, acceptance, grace. Last time, inhaling left nostril. Exhaling right. Release the hands, couple deep breaths through both nostrils. Eyes are still closed. And let your eyes open, and we'll come up to stand. Taking your feet about hip width apart, and keep a soft bend in your knees. We'll come into what's called miracle bend, so pretty straightforward. Soft little bend to the knees, the arms go up over your head, hooking your thumbs, spread your fingers, and then you inhale to lean back a little bit, and you exhale to fold forward. And if it's possible, you go just a little bit faster in the warm-up. So really powerful. If it's not good to fold all the way forward, you can just bring your forearms to your thighs. If it feels okay in your body and you're stable, maybe close your eyes. And just keep going like that, inhaling up, exhaling down. A great way to start bringing some prana and energy into the body and the spine. Last 10 seconds or so. And inhale up, stretch up, stretch up, stretch up, hold the breath in, open the eyes if you need to. And then like you're clearing the energy around you, exhale, arms out to the side and down. Nice, bring yourself back to sit. Crossing the legs your non-habit way. And then bringing your hands onto the shoulders, fingers forward, thumbs back, elbows up in line with the shoulders, a little twist just to warm up the spine a bit more. It's our last warm up. So as you inhale, you turn your body over to the left, and as you exhale, over towards the right. If you need to, slow breaths, inhaling, exhaling. If it's possible, you speed it up. And you keep going side to side, that rhythm of a breath that works best for you this morning. If it's possible, close your eyes. Really getting into the spleen and the liver, the lungs. Inhale, center. Suspend the breath if you're not pregnant or have blood pressure issues. And then exhale, hands onto thighs, eyes stay closed, couple of long deep breaths. Just notice any subtle or big shifts, body, mind, or energy. And then opening the eyes, we'll begin our women's set. So we come into rock pose. This is where we sit on our heels. If that's not comfortable for you, you can always use a blanket to roll up to the back of your knees, right? So it takes a little pressure off the knee socket, or sit up on a block or anything else that might be comfortable for your body so that you can sit in stillness. We take the right hand and place it cupped in the left hand with the tips of the thumbs touching. And then we stay with a nice long spine, closing the eyes and taking nice long deep breaths. Meditative posture. Smooth inhales, deep exhales. Eyes are rolled up inwardly to the third eye point. The hand position, the mudra of neutrality. So the yogini, the woman practitioner of yoga, is meant to kind of begin to realize the states of polarity, right? To be able to sit in the neutral space of the good, the bad, the hard, the easy. And recognizing the truth, the capital T, truth. The non-dual space of I am. Notice in those moments where you get caught up in the sounds of life around you or the thoughts swirling within you. Use them to recognize that you're not separate than life, you're part of it. Breathing your breath. And then take a nice deep inhale. Suspend the breath. Softly exhale. And let the eyes flutter open. We'll bring ourselves onto our bum and extend the legs out in front of you. It should feel good now. Coming into life nerve stretch. So once you're ready, and feel free again to modify as much as you need, we're going to take peace fingers and thumbs around the big toes. You're meant to press your thumb into the nail bed of the big toe. And then as you inhale, lengthen the spine, tuck your chin to your chest. As you exhale, fold forward over the legs as deeply as you can, and we enjoy long, deep breaths here. Eyes are closed. Just breathing into the kidneys, the lower back. See if you can breathe some breath into the back of your lungs. And just like the previous pose, try to make it as meditative as possible, right? So as little fidgeting, moving, looking around as you can, just staying in your body, connected to your breathing. And forward bends are really great for women, especially if you're in the cycle before menstruating. So, we say PMS, but PMS isn't really all that natural. It's signs that there's hormonal imbalances if we suffer from PMS. And symptoms that are related to it, like cramping or, mood elevation, withdrawal, bloating, tender breasts, all of that kind of goes along with it is a signal from the body that there is some sort of imbalance. The forward folds are especially nice if we are feeling that bloating or that tenderness or fullness through the womb, the lower part of the body, the lower back. And even as you fold here, try not to round so much as there's a lengthening of the lower back, like you're inching forward every inhale. It's a life nerve stretch, so you want to get the whole back of the body. And lots of meridians too that line the back of the body from top to bottom. So nourishing on an energetic space as well. And then we'll take a deep breath in. Suspend the breath for a moment. And as you exhale, come up nice and slow. Take your time. Nice. We'll swing our legs back behind us. Be really gentle. So Yogi Bhajan, when he was teaching, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and all of this, his understanding and his kind of philosophy was you came to yoga already warmed up. You weren't doing yoga to gain flexibility and such. It was medicinal. This is a technology. Everything's sequenced the way it's sequenced very purposefully for specific effects. So, sometimes it's like, wow, that's not what we would do traditionally, 2000s, 2020 time frame, going from a forward bend to a back bend right away. So do be gentle. If you need to, hands on the back. We're meant to go into camel pose. So you just kind of push your hips down and forward a little bit. And even if it's just a little opening of pulling the elbows back behind you and looking up towards the ceiling is fine. If you've been practicing a long time and it feels good in your back and it's healthy, go right to your heels. Toes can be tucked or untucked. Okay, so you choose your camel pose. If it's possible, we close our eyes wherever you are. It's recommended or asked that you drop your head back, but you don't have to. And then once your eyes are closed, imagine that you're trying to gaze at the tip of your nose. So instead of the third eye point, go for the tip of your nose and long, deep breaths. So in Kundalini, the women are thought to have moon centers, which is another class and kind of workshop in and of itself. But the way that we gaze, so where we place our eyes inwardly, especially affects the moon centers of the body. Same with how we place our body, and those moon centers can deeply change the frequency of the hormonal release through the chemical body, the endocrine system. So we're inwardly gazing towards the tip of the nose. Taking nice long deep breaths. This is a really great posture for your kidneys. Just about a minute left. You'll start to feel perhaps as well as we move through the kriya, just like the warm-up. So we went from calming to activating, balancing the brain, strengthening the nervous system. Last 30 seconds. Now if your head is dropped back, really working thyroid, parathyroid here as well as you stretch the neck. And then if you're down on your heels, really tenderly and slowly bring yourself up with the help of your hands. Let's untuck your feet and come back into rock pose. So sitting hips to heels, hands rest on thighs, nice long deep breaths, neutralizing the spine. At the same time, that casual witnessing. Okay, opening the eyes. So we have a couple of options here. If you have any spinal, especially cervical spine injuries or issues, don't do this next pose. If you don't, it's good for you. If you do, legs up the wall is a great option, right? So you just scoot yourself up to a wall, flip yourself up so your legs crawl up the wall and you're nice and supported. If you have no spinal injuries or issues, you might even have blocks or bolsters and you can kind of bring the ground up to you. I do recommend using a blanket underneath your head and kind of around your cervical spine, especially if you don't have a little Kundalini rug. Do find something to cushion yourself a little bit. So we're coming into shoulder stand if I haven't prepped that enough. So, you know, shoulder stand for you today can look like legs up. And quite honestly, if you're menstruating, that's as far as I would suggest that you go, okay? If you're not menstruating, again, cervical spine is good, you're not working any issues, you can just take your hands onto your lower back and extend the legs even to like a 60 degrees. If it's possible, you walk your arms a little closer together under your body. You can come in even from bridge pose and climb right up onto your shoulders. And when you're on shoulder stand, this is not passive. So you push into your elbows and your shoulders and you're trying to get off your cervical spine. So it's actually quite a strong position to be in. Okay, so you find what works for you. We're in there with long, deep breathing. So find your shoulder stand. Make sure it's something that's, you know, somewhat sustainable. It's definitely going to be challenging and that's normal. Okay, but you find what works for your body, what feels okay. Long, deep breaths.
This is another great one for heart, strengthening the heart muscles, having to pump blood in reverse, right? So opposite of gravity. Relaxing the organs, they're hanging down towards the heart rather than the pelvis. If it's possible, your eyes are closed. And once again, working very deeply on the thyroid, parathyroid in this posture. Already halfway there, so staying in your version of shoulder stand, deep breaths. Try not to look around, especially if you're up on your shoulders and your head. Keep your head neutral. Last minute or so, stay in your body, stay in the posture, stay with your breath. So the postures are meant to, either the time that we're holding them, the posture itself, or the breathing pattern, maybe with the posture, all of it put together, very specifically meant to poke and provoke. So we strengthen not just our body, which is where we might be feeling it, but also the mind. And we can withstand those pressures of our time right now. Good. Take a really deep breath in, hold the position, hold the breath. And then nice and slow, release your body down gently and safely. Come into a little Shavasana, just lay on the ground. Try not to fidget or move too much in your Shavasana. Just give yourself the space to stay open to what you're feeling. Eyes are closed, deep breaths. A little tenderness, vulnerability is okay. And from Shavasana, draw your knees in towards your chest and be gentle with yourself here. You're going to rock and roll a couple times if that's safe to do so on your spine. Want to come right up to stand. So just put your feet down, take your time and stand up. Of course, help yourself up if you need to. Coming into archer's pose. So for example, if you stand kind of towards the end of the mat, you're going to take a big step out with your right foot. Your right foot points towards the top of your mat, your right knee bends, and it's not a huge stance that we want in archer's pose. So your lower body is kind of, it's like warrior 2 and warrior 1 put together. So we have the right knee forward, right knee bent, and then your hip doesn't want to open up like warrior 2, it comes in a little bit. So we're not trying to square off to the front of the room either. It's just a release for the lower back and pelvis. So there's just a soften of the left hip in, right knee bent. Your hands come into fists with your thumb pulled out. It's almost like if you're doing ego eradicators to the first knuckle and then tuck in a little bit more. Okay, so towards the center of your hands. Then you take your right arm straight out, thumb points up. You bring your left hand to your heart, so that thumb is pointing up to your chin, and then you lift your elbow up and back. So it's like you're pulling on a bow and arrow. So to the heart, and then you elbow up and back. So now you're by your left shoulder. Okay? You gaze over your right thumb. Eyes are steady and strong. And you take nice, long, deep breaths. Yes, this is a beautiful posture for the body, for the hips, the pelvis. And you're trying to really maintain a stretch and an opening through the chest. So try not to just kind of relax everything. Really pull back like you have a bow and an arrow, like a warrioress. And depending on, how we handle stress, small T trauma, big T trauma, our focus can very much be challenged. And so it's a great posture to cultivate focus mentally, right? So our eyes stay over that right thumb. That's like the bullseye that we're aiming for through the arrow. Right? Breath is the arrow. Arms are the bow, breath is the arrow, thumb is the bullseye, really working at our focus. Really long, deep, soothing breath through this strong posture in the body, this soothing breath. Make sure your back elbow stays up, pushing forward through your right arm, pulling back through the left. And as we maintain our focus and the stance, this posture, you might notice that poke and provoke, right? The mental body gets involved. When is this going to be over? Are we done yet? How long are we going to hold this? Try not to concern yourself too much with any of that. Maybe use the opportunity just to recognize the swirling of the mind. And notice how it can create a very chaotic state and attach things to the posture or the present moment that don't necessarily need to be there. And maintain focus at that right thumb and on your breath. Recognizing that any little vibratory movements of your body, that's the changing of your energy and the frequency. The moving of energy that's been trapped or stuck, maybe weaker parts of the body that are finding some strength. Not an invitation to leave, but an invitation to stay and breathe. Let the body know, do what it knows how to do, right? It's recalibrating itself. You only have 30 seconds left. You can do it. Take a deep breath in. Suspend the breath, hold the posture. Exhale, release the arms, straighten the right leg, turn your right toes in for a moment. Just stay in that shape, legs wide. If it's comfortable, safe to close your eyes, it feels stable, you can do that. Just take some long, deep breaths. Stay in your body. Notice what you feel. And the best part of this pose, and holding it in this capacity in this way, is now next time you do Vinyasa Warrior 2, it's going to feel like nothing. You're like, oh, that's nothing. Look what I can do. Right? That's what I like about Kundalini yoga sometimes. You just get into those other classes and everything just feels so fluid and simple and lovely, right? So of course we have the other side. So you're going to turn your left leg back, or you can switch your stance on your mat. If you'd like to face forward, that's okay. Bend into the left knee. Make these little kind of half fists. Stick your thumbs out. Take the left arm forward, right in line with the shoulder, thumb points up. Right hand in front of heart, and like you're pulling on a bow, pull back. So the elbows up in line with the shoulder, thumb points to the sky. Gaze over to your left thumb, keeping the eyes open as you do this posture, looking at that left thumb, left knee bent. Try not to sink through your back leg either, so really strong, powerful right leg, doing just as much work, and then opening the chest, so pull like you've got that bow and arrow. Remember, your breath is the arrow, your thumb is the bullseye. And now that you have this kind of patterned and programmed into the body in some capacity, the mind's going to get involved a lot faster on this side, because it was like, wow, we did it really long on the last side. Maybe you should modify. Maybe you shouldn't hold your elbow up this time. Maybe you should straighten your leg a little bit more, right? It's going to try to help you be in the posture, but really it's taking you away from your experience. So try to just let the mind, thank it. Thanks for the options that are there. It's nice to know, but right now I'm fine. I've got this. Long, deep breaths. Beautiful posture too for us to build that warrioress energy. Courage, stamina, endurance, focus, as I mentioned, power. There's a really healthy sense of power that we can cultivate when we find it. It comes from within. Just using your breath to try to bust through those mental or physical blocks. And try not to let your back elbow lower down. Keep that arm pulling back, left arm pushing forward. Energy is strong. You're already halfway there. You can feel it again, right? We went from shoulder stand, which is fairly active, but the energy is very moon-like. So it's a yin, passive, cultivating energy. And here we have that activating energy, that fire energy. Bouncing left and right sides. The brain, the nadis. And so after this pose, you get a nice relaxing one, right? If you're following that sequence. Sometimes the hardest part of these poses is just finding those weak spots and giving them the opportunity, the chance to get stronger, whether it be physically or mentally. And the reality is that if we actually just hold the poses instead of coming in and out all the time, we tend to get to the other side and have that breakthrough in the posture. So do your best. Just have less than a minute left. Good, deep breath in, hold the breath, hold the posture. Exhale, release the hands, straighten out the left leg, turn the toes in, just stand with your legs wide, long deep breaths. Stay connected. And then opening the eyes, we're going to come down into child's pose. So with your knees and feet together, if that's possible. And then modify this if you need to lay on your back, that works too. So supine child is fine. Otherwise, just let yourself settle into your hands back by your feet, forehead on a pillow or the ground. And really let your body melt down in child's pose. Once again, like in that life nerve stretch earlier, try to send the breath into your back lungs, your kidneys. Soften your legs and your feet. Give yourself a little metaphorical pat on the back, for showing up for your practice. This is hard work. Really starting to create the conditions for inner change. It can be a little confrontational. Deep breaths. These postures, especially those really igniting, challenging ones, might not even be physically, but just the breathing pattern. But ultimately, in a way for us to recognize and really viscerally experience that we're not our thoughts. Okay, let's come up nice and slow onto the hands and knees from your child's pose. And once again, so you come down onto your forearms and then your belly. Modify this any way that you need. So for example, it might just look like this for you today. Okay. If it's possible, you can lower down, interlace the fingers behind your back. And then last option is to catch your feet. And then be mindful that you might only lift up about this much for this pose. You don't have to come into the fullest expression, but we are working at bow pose. Okay, so your expression of bow pose, closing the eyes, just like earlier, inner gaze towards the tip of your nose, and then long, deep breathing. So it's like if you were looking with your eyes open at the ground, forward and down in front of you, but towards the tips of your nose, eyes are closed. Really great posture, massaging the abdominal organs, strengthening the diaphragm, flushing the kidneys, opening the quadriceps, the chest, the lungs. Notice if it's getting a little confrontational, stay breathing your breath, maintain the posture as best as you can. Stay open and receptive. Whatever the experience holds for you today. The last 30 seconds. Take a really deep breath in. Suspend the breath. And exhale, release. Bring your feet to the ground. Just rest your forehead on the back of your hands. Just look to one side. Rest your body into the earth. Take some deep breaths into your lower back. Yogi Bhajan said if we practice this set every day for 40 days, we can move through life with more grace, presence, power, and ease. Maybe starting to feel that a bit. So next posture, locust pose. You want to make fists with your hands. It's recommended to tuck your thumbs in, but if you try this and it feels weird like that, thumbs can come out, so it's really up to you. Locust pose with this time, our hands are going to slide under the body with the fists. So your fists basically kind of meet your groin, inner thigh area. Lots of lymph nodes in here, so this is amazing for the body. So when you roll onto yourself, you're rolling onto your fists underneath you right by your groin, and that's the option one. Option two is you can make fists hands outside if your elbows don't like that. Okay, so and then option three, if you really need to, palms on the ground for help. Your chin stays down, so again, we're working thyroid, parathyroid through the body, so chin on the ground, and you just lift your legs up. So chin down, legs up. Okay, so situate yourself, get your thumbs in, tuck your hands over your thumbs, lift the hips, slide your hands in there as best as you can. Chin down, legs up, deep breaths. Just a couple more postures after this one. This is an amazing one again for your lymph system and really cleansing and clearing the lymph nodes around the groin and ovaries, but also to help massage ovaries. As you need to, of course, you can work with one leg up at a time as an option, rather than just giving up and putting both legs down. Really great massage for the abdominal organs again too, helping with digestion. So depending on our cycle too, our digestion can be disrupted. So certain parts of our cycle, if hormones are slightly imbalanced in the body, we might experience constipation or even excess relief like diarrhea. Try to hold the position as best as you can, chin down, legs up, deep breaths. You're over halfway there. We just have 3 poses left after this one. If you need to, close your eyes, alternate legs one at a time or both legs up. Hold the position, take a really deep breath in. Hold the position, suspend the breath. And then exhale, release your body into the mat again. Turn your head to the other side, let your legs relax, slide your hands out. Palms face the sky, nice long deep breaths. Okay, and then push yourself back up onto your hands and knees. Feel free to use fists or forearms if your wrists are tender. We're coming in very simply to cow pose. Belly down, heart up. Try not to strain your neck and your head, so you're just looking forward. But then close your eyes and move your inner gaze to the third eye point again. So chin parallel to the floor, but your eyes roll up slightly. Belly stays down, long deep breaths. Not quite as powerful or confrontational of a shape for most, and so where does your mind go? Remembering that we're also here, focus and awareness, to feel, to explore, to notice, and to strengthen those capabilities and aspects. Can you stay with your breath?
get to the top of your inhales and strengthen the top lungs. Next time that you exhale, round your back nice and slow, tuck your pelvis, hollow your belly, relax your head, push into the ground as firmly as you can, staying in cat pose, close the eyes, long deep breaths. Beautiful opportunity really to breathe into your back lungs firmly and deeply. Keep firmly pushing into the ground, relax your neck. Just about a minute or so in that shape, staying in your cat pose. You can hug in a little tighter. I get a rainbow forming through your spine. You can really start to feel how this kriya is keeping the spine supple and strong. Good. And then neutralize the spine. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, just sitting down on your hips so you can extend the legs straight out in front of you. Our last pose. It's a good one. It's the quintessential Kundalini posture. And I would be lying if I said I love this pose, but I love that it's the last pose. I feel like I'm thankful for that. And it gives me the strength. So stretch pose. So lots of options as you lay down on your back. This is where breath of fire comes in. If you're not doing breath of fire, pregnant or menstruating, long deep breathing. When you're down on your back, your hands are down beside you. You want to lift your hands to about hip level. Lift your head and chest so you gaze at your feet. Bring your feet together, and then just like you were gazing at your thumbs when we were lifting, when we were in our archer's pose or like that warrior pose, we're gazing at the tips of our toes. Okay? So you're going to lift your feet up and begin breath of fire. So as you continue in this posture, you might notice that you have to put one foot down like you did in the locust and then switch.
That's an option. You can also take one hand or both hands to the back of the head. If you need to, I find it easier with one hand and then switch the opposites. That supports the back, upper back and neck. Also, if you really need to, hands can go underneath your hips for support. I know. I told you. Keep going. There are yogis that can do this for 11 minutes. We're just doing it for 3 and we're over halfway there. Last 30 seconds. Deep breath in. Exhale, release. Shavasana. So for deep rest, whatever you need to be comfortable in corpse pose, you'll turn the palms up to face the sky. Let your eyes softly close. And drink in some nice long inhales and deep exhales, and use the exhales to really let your body sink. And let go of what you could do, what you couldn't do, doesn't matter now. The effort, the intention was there. Let the practice and the work that you did put in be enough. And let this time remind you that you are enough. And stay committed to this posture like you have in every other posture. Still. Body and mind allowed to rest. Awareness stays with you, awake. The yogini lives in a state in which the pair of opposites do not affect her. In this, her final stage,
The yogini sees both good and bad simply as the polarities in the play of life. She lives in a river of grace and can flow through challenges and remain calm. And under all situations, she radiates forgiveness, compassion, kindness, blessings, and smiles. And let's notice the breath. And let's gently bring some movement into your fingers and your toes. And your ankles and your wrists. If it feels good, stretch your arms back behind you like it's first thing in the morning. And then hug your knees in towards your chest when you're ready. And take a quick or short little twist from side to side. And when you bring your knees back to center, keep the feet off the floor and soles of the feet touch, hands touch, and you rub your hands and your feet vigorously together as fast as you can, stimulating all the nerve endings. And then slow it down to bring the knees back in towards your chest. And up to you, you can roll to the side or rock and roll a couple times on your spine if you'd like to come up to sit. We'll find Sukhasana or easy pose. And this is where you might want to grab your block or bolster or something to sit on if that feels better for your knees and your hips. Kirtan Kriya. This is such an amazing, really quintessential meditation for women. All about mastering your moods. And although it is very studied in the relationship to focus, as I was talking about earlier, and memory too, as I was talking about earlier, the way that we handle small t trauma. So small t traumas are like little things that are repetitive that create a trauma response in the body. Big T traumas, we know these are big things, natural catastrophes and such, but they're one-time big events. And so that's why there's so many different ways that we can relate to trauma through the body, mind, nervous system, and emotional health. And so, because there's so many ways that we can experience, and it varies from person to person. So one of the ways, as I was mentioning, that we can know we're in kind of a trauma response or have issues with that, or it's like a built up kind of neural pathway and such, as an inability to focus. And so this is just as relatable in that aspect, because what it's also said to do really specifically for women is to heal any trauma that we might have around sexuality. So it works really specifically with the womb or the second chakra. It's also, and any issues we might have there too. It might just be that we want to get pregnant, or we have different menstrual issues, endometriosis, things like that. So this is a really beautiful healing meditation for second chakra, for the womb. And it's also said to help us through life's transitions and any big challenges, and breaking habits and patterns and addictions. So there's a lot going on with this meditation. And I did the 31-minute version for over 90 days, and it took me about 37 days to drop in and really appreciate it. And then once I hit 40 days, I was, which is ironic, but I was literally addicted to it. I felt so fabulous, and I really had a very visceral experience of healing on the other side of that 40 days. And so I wanted to keep going. And then the insights were beautiful from that point forward. And it gave me this opportunity to observe how we're not the thoughts really profoundly. And so I highly suggest this meditation for women. And minimum you want to do is 40 days to get the full benefits. And 11 minutes is just as important as 31. You can also build yourself up to 31, although it is often said by old school Kundalini practitioners, you keep the same thing for 40 days, but there's a lot of places that say we can build up to that time. So today we're going to start short. We're going to do 2 minutes in each. So the way it works is we chant out loud. This is key. Each vocal sound is important that we're making, as I've explained before. So we chant out loud for 2 minutes, and then we whisper for 2 minutes. Then we go internally and chant it for 4 minutes. We come back out to whisper for 2 minutes, and then out loud again to end for 2 minutes. And that's how it goes, even if you continue on. It's in that same ratio. Your mudra is you touch your thumb to each 4 of the fingers. So the mantra is Sa, na, ma. Mudra, activating different and stimulating different parts of our brain. Mantra is infinity, life, death, and rebirth. So even just the moment-to-moment recreation of ourself. And that mantra is ultimately what's cleansing or supporting the cleansing and clearing of the karma. I even had a teacher actually tell me once that that as women, we store the energy of all of our sexual partners that we've been with, which is why in theory we have as women a harder time letting go of intimate relationships, whereas men can clear that arc line and energy within 2 weeks. Right, of course. So this is also a really great one to move past your exes. If you're kind of feeling a little stuck, this is the way to go. So if you've had those intimate relationships. So Satanama, we hold our hands against the legs. We sit up nice and tall. I'll lead you through it for today. When I say silent, try to keep that pace that we've been maintaining internally though and quietly. Okay, so let's close the eyes. Find your comfortable seat. We allow the eyes to roll up to the third eye point. And the last piece of this meditation, when and if you can focus on all of the pieces put together, mudra and mantra, is a visualization. So you imagine as though there's an energy to each bija, so an energy to sa, to na, to ma, and so on. And that energy, as you chant it, is being pulled in through the crown chakra, the top of your head. And before you move on to the next one, it's being pushed out through your third eye. So I like to kind of think of it as like a little unicorn horn. So you pull in the sa, and then you release it through the third eye. The ta, release it through the third eye. Na, pull it in, release, pull it in, release. And we go like that. Okay? So begin at index finger and thumb. We change the fingers with every bija. Your gaze is at your third eye. And begin out loud. Satanama, 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 whisper, Satanama, 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 Satanama. Silent. Now we whisper sa ta na ma, 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 sa ta na
ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma sa ta na ma. Out loud. Sa ta na ma 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 sa ta na ma. Last one. Sa ta na ma. Inhale deeply, stretch your arms up over your head, hold your breath in. Stretch your fingers really wide, really high. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Hold your breath. As you exhale, shake the arms over your head. And then inhale, stretch, 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 stretch. Spread the fingers. Hold the breath. And exhale, arms out to the side and down. Bring your hands together at heart center. Closing your practice with the call of long time sun one time, followed by a long sat nam. May the long time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. Inhale. Sat Nam. Bring your thumbs to your forehead, silently repeating, may I know my truth. Thumbs to the lips, silently may I speak my truth. And thumbs to the heart, may I live my truth. And then back to the forehead, we honor that truth that exists within each of us by bowing forward and saying namaste. And Sat Nam, everyone.